Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to subscribe and put your finger up. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. Penny Richards saw a gray hair among the brown strands. She saw him when she started brushing her long hair. There he is in the mirror. The 43-year-old mother of three stopped and stared at the offending hair. Then she pulled it out. She reached out and pulled hard, pulling out a few brown hairs. Then, in order not to miss a few others on closer inspection, she pulled her hair back into a ponytail. Even as she dressed, she continued to look in the mirror to see if there were any gray hairs anywhere else. Her size 3 breasts still proudly and beautifully emphasized her waist. Her waist, despite the fact that she carried 3 children, was a decent 75 centimeters, although her stomach was a little pumped up. And her ass. Her friends constantly told her that they would like to have an ass like hers. William Richards, her husband, also often praised her ass. William. Not Bill, not Will, not even Billy or Willie. Still not satisfied that there were no more gray hairs in her long brown hair, but resigned to the fact that she wouldn't be able to find them that morning, Penny left her bedroom. "Mom, I missed that stupid bus again," the younger Jenica announced, slamming the front door. Usually, Penny gently reproached her daughter for idleness, for oversleeping. But today, more than ever, Penny exploded in a fit of rage. Shocked by her mother's behavior, Jenica ran to her room, wailing. "Damn it, Jenica, I'm sorry," Penny growled, upset with herself. Finally, after almost 10 minutes of apologies and hugs, Jenica and Penny got into Penny's 6-year-old Toyota Camry and drove to Baylor Lake High School, where Jenica was a sophomore. They arrived shortly before the first bell rang, so Jenica was not late for school. Promising that it would be better next time, and kissing her mother on the cheek, Jenica left, engulfed by a crowd of schoolchildren. Penny went to the grocery store, did her shopping for the week, and even smiled when the young man packing her groceries couldn't seem to look above her breasts. She turned around as she drove past the stroller, and of course the young man was looking at her ass in tight blue jeans. "Honey, I have a child older than you," Penny wanted to tell the young man. "Actually, these are my jeans," Penny thought, and smiled as she pushed the stroller outside into the August humidity. Rachel, their eldest daughter, lived with Brad Bertrand, and the two were planning their wedding. Both Brad and Rachel were scheduled to graduate from the University of Louisiana at DeGard in May next year and get married on the first weekend of June. William didn't like Rachel and Brad living together. He had old-fashioned values and views on these things. "Come on, William," Penny laughed at him. "How old were we when we started doing this business?" William asked. "Cooking bacon, pointing a finger, play hide the salami?" Penny was teasing her husband, who was stuck in a quagmire. "I prefer to think of it as making love." William pursed his lips when he heard her laugh. "Actually, I still prefer to think of it as making love," he stated. "And I certainly don't like the idea of my little girl being engaged, as you call it." "Oh, it doesn't matter, Dad," Penny laughed. "But let me guess, if Clay wanted to sleep with Chelsea, that would be a completely different matter, right?" "If her mother and father don't mind, that's fine," William said. Now, in the grocery store parking lot, Penny bent down to put away the groceries. At the same time, she tried to remember the last time she and William tried to do business or make love. "We haven't tried it for a long time," she admitted. When she straightened up, Penny saw that an African-American man was watching her. He wasn't embarrassed to be caught staring at her. The man smiled at her and continued to stroll through the grocery store. "Pull up your pants, you idiot," Penny wanted to tell this cheeky man. "And get out of the middle of the aisle, huh? People should know the rules of the road, you know." When she got home, Harris, the young man who lived next door, had obviously skipped classes that day. He gave his neighbor a sheep-like smile. "Hello, Miss Richards, can I help you?" he suggested as she began to pull grocery bags out of the trunk of the car. Harris was a little in love with Jenica, but she didn't seem to care too much about the handsome 18-year-old. William suggested that Harris was not as much in love with Jenica as he was with Penny. In fact, William talked about it more than once when the Phillips came to the neighboring house for a barbecue or a splash in the pool. The incident when Penny dared to wear a bikini outdoors seemed to give weight to William's statement. Harris couldn't take his eyes off Penny. With Harris's help, Penny managed to free the car pretty quickly. Then Harris stayed and helped her clean it up. At first, Penny thought it must be an accident, the constant pushing and touching while working. But when Harris's hand found her firm ass for the 4th time, Penny realized that it was done intentionally. She smiled at the young man, smiled at his hot blush. Then she bent down and kissed him. He almost dropped the jar of mayonnaise when it pressed against his lips. Fortunately, he put the jar on the counter. Harris was a bit of a skinny boy. He didn't play sports at all. But at the same time, he was a handsome young man with light brown hair, warm brown eyes, and a crooked smile. He was terribly inexperienced at kissing, and Penny had to put her hand on his skinny chest to slow him down. Then she kissed his neck. He giggled at the tickling. Her hand went to the bulge of his jeans and he gasped. Then she kissed him again and knelt down. Kneeling on the kitchen floor, Penny unbuttoned his jeans and took out Harris's slim 12-centimeter male organ. Penny gasped as he splashed a stream of liquid over her face, hair, and throat. Some of it even dripped onto her blouse. "Oh my God!" Harris groaned with pleasure and embarrassment. Penny was amazed at the resilience of the young. Even after such a strong ejaculation, Harris's organ remained firm and proud. "Honey, you should warn your lover when you're going to do this," Penny gently rebuked the young man. "I'm sorry, Miss Richards." Harris sighed. She pulled off her blouse, wiping his liquid from her face. Then she unbuttoned her bra, and Harris's eyes stared at her breasts. "They like to be squeezed," she encouraged the guy. While he clumsily squeezed his breasts, as if trying to milk them, Penny got out of her jeans and panties. She left her clothes on the kitchen floor and dragged Harris into the hallway. Her orgasm was fast. Penny would finish quickly when she was very aroused, and now she was very excited. "I think we'd better put away the rest of the groceries," Penny said after they'd been lying there for a few minutes. "Yes, ma'am," Harris agreed. That evening, William was both amused and excited that Penny was trying to hurry Clay and Jenica to dinner and then go to her rooms to do her homework. "Come on, Tiger Cub," Penny said when she managed to get the children to go to their rooms. "Let's get busy." "Shall we do it?" William joked. "What? Do you want to take care of our taxes? Oh no, I know. You want to clean the back room, right? Come on, you fool." Penny laughed, pulling him into their bedroom with her. At 45, William was no longer as quick to react as Harris. He also had a small beer belly and thin white legs, but William had 18 centimeters of rather thick male meat and a little mature stamina. He managed to bring Penny to orgasm 3 times before he poured his liquid into her, and when she was tidying herself up before putting on a short nightgown, Penny saw 2 gray pubic hairs among her dark brown strands. All the kind, contented feelings she might have felt at the same time were gone. She decided to shave the very next morning. William had already asked her to shave several times. What could be a better reason than a few gray hairs? The next morning, William bent down and kissed her on the cheek. "I love you," he murmured before getting out of bed. He went to make breakfast for the whole family, prepared lunches for Clay and Jenica, and asked Jenica to hurry up, otherwise she would be late again. "I know I missed that stupid bus yesterday," Jenica agreed. "Really? And how did you determine the intelligence or lack of intelligence of the bus?" William teased. "Come on, you know what I mean?" Jenica giggled, rushing out the door. "Do you want me to take her?" Clay suggested. "Want you to get to... What's there? Thursday?" "No, I want you to get to Western civilization," William said. Then, with another kiss on Penny's cheek, William left, and Penny was left alone in their house. She made sure she was alone. She was naked. Penny went into the kitchen, took a pair of scissors out of the drawer, and returned to the bathroom. She sat on the dresser and cut off her thick hair. Then she took a warm washcloth and applied it to the stubble that now covered her crotch. It took 3 applications of shaving gel, 3 strokes of the razor, but finally Penny was completely bald and smooth, without any offensive gray hair. Betsy Phillips must be a trusting mother. Harris skipped school for the 2nd time. Penny almost groaned when she opened the door to find a grinning boy on the porch. "Harris, honey, how come we did what we did yesterday?" "It was a mistake," Penny gently rebuked him. "I didn't think it was a mistake," the grinning boy replied. Penny saw that Mrs. O'Toole, the unfriendly woman across the street, was frowning at them. She pulled Harris into the house. Before she could close the door completely, Harris awkwardly tried to kiss her. "Harris, honey, stop it. We need to talk," Penny tried softly. She really tried. Penny tried very gently to calm the boy down. They were talking while sitting on the couch. She held his hand, explaining that she had a seizure, possibly hormonal. She explained that she was married, very happily married to William. She explained that he would meet and fall in love with someone closer to his age. Then they went to her bedroom and started making love again. Harris liked everything about her. Penny didn't even have to instruct him. That evening, William was also excited. "So why did you decide to do it?" William asked Penny as they hugged in post-coital bliss. "I saw a couple of gray hairs there," Penny admitted. The next day, Friday, Harris went to school after all. Penny was able to do the household chores she neglected on Wednesday and Thursday. That evening, Jenica was going bowling with friends in Bender, Louisiana, and Clay had a date with Chelsea, so William and Penny were on their own. Penny noticed that Harris was among those who were going to the bowling alley and felt a surge of indignation. She didn't know why it was happening, she just felt it, and she rejected William's advances. She was just not in the mood. Harris waited 3 weeks before interrupting classes again, and again he knocked on Penny's door. They didn't talk and went straight into the bedroom. Penny had Harris's organ in her mouth when William said, "I forgot my laptop." Penny screamed, which was not easy to do with a mouthful of liquid. "Oh no!" Harris groaned when he saw Mr. Richards in the doorway. "So I came back to get him," William said sadly. "William, honey, it's not like that. It's not what it seems," Penny cried, wiping the liquid dripping from her face. "And I got it," William said, holding up the laptop case. "Oh no," Harris groaned. William left before Penny could jump out of bed and go out into the hallway. She tried to call his cell phone. After a few calls, she got to his cheerful voicemail message. She called Bernie, the school secretary, and begged her to ask Mr. Richards to call her as soon as he arrived. The children at Andrew Jackson Elementary School must have been particularly violent that day. William never called. Bernie assured Mrs. Richards that she had given Mr. Richards a message. Penny made pork chops, mashed potatoes, and lima beans, William's favorite dinner. "Great, Mom," Clay said happily. "Pork chops. Wow, pork chops," Jenica agreed. Penny was shocked when William arrived at 5:20 at his usual time. The man looked much older than his 45 years. He was happy that morning, his brown eyes shining as he kissed her and felt her buttocks before leaving the house. Now his skin had turned ashen, and his brown eyes looked flat and lifeless. "I'm not hungry," he muttered, and headed for his office. "William, honey, I'm so sorry," Penny said, following him into the office. "So what did you tell Jenica and Clay?" William asked wearily. "About what?" Penny asked, her heart sinking at the sight of her husband. "About why we're getting divorced," William said heavily. "Divorce? We're not getting divorced." Penny forced herself not to shout those terrible words. "Oh yes, ma'am, of course we're getting a divorce," William said, showing the first signs of life. He sat up in his leather chair. "I'll be damned if I'm going to stay married to a woman who seduced an 18-year-old child," he growled angrily. He got to his feet. "The child? Damn it, Penny, really? The neighbor's child. The child we've been watching grow up. And you're sleeping with him?" he shouted. "Please, please keep it down," Penny hissed, hoping, praying that Clay and Jenica hadn't heard her father's statement. "Why should I, Penny?" William shouted. "They'll figure it out sooner or later, won't they? I mean, they'll figure it out when I move in." "Will you move? William, you can't," Penny pleaded. "Then you can sleep with everyone, the whole neighborhood if you want," William growled. He pushed past her abruptly. "I'm leaving," he growled. Jenica and Clay stood looking at Penny with a lost, pained expression on their faces. Penny felt a sudden surge of anger as she looked at her children. "What?" "Stop it," she screamed. "Hey? What?" 30 minutes later, she slammed the oven door, pulled out the pork chops, put the chops on 3 plates, poured beans and mashed potatoes on the plates, and slapped them on the table. "Dinner!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. "I'm not hungry," Clay said sullenly from the doorway of his room. "Come here and eat this damn food right now," Penny screamed. "I'm not in the mood to do any nonsense, do you hear?" The meal was held in silence. Both Clay and Jenica seemed to feel that if they didn't eat everything on their plates, they would light a powder keg, and obediently chewed and swallowed. It was almost midnight when William returned. Penny pursed her lips. He smelled of beer and cigarette smoke. Then she felt a surge of hope. Usually, when he smelled of beer and cigarettes, it meant that he was in the dead-end bar and looked at young girls who took off their clothes for tips. Penny hoped it was William's volley, his eye for an eye. "So what did you eat at the dead end?" Penny asked as he untied his shoelaces. "Stuffed pork chops," William replied listlessly. "Wow, what a coincidence," Penny tried to grin. "Yeah, how about this?" William replied evenly. On Saturday morning, Penny woke up to William quietly getting out of bed. The gray dawn was barely visible through a crack in the heavy curtains. She decided that he wanted to start work in the yard early, before the daytime humidity made the work too hard. Penny drifted off to sleep. She woke up again when she heard the voices of Jenica and Clay, who were playfully arguing. She slipped her feet into her slippers and went to the kitchen where Jenica was cooking scrambled eggs. The three of them watched in shock as William entered the house, carrying flattened boxes from the U-Haul store. "No!" Jenica screamed and ran out of the room. Clay took one look at Penny and stormed out of the house. "God, William, please," Penny sobbed. William paused for a moment, then walked past Penny into the bedroom. Penny was sitting at the kitchen table, sobbing with her head in her hands. William walked through the kitchen to the garage, carrying one box. When he returned, he put his hand on Penny's trembling shoulder for a moment. Then he returned to the bedroom. When he returned with the second box, Penny jumped up and blocked the garage doorway. "Please move over, Penny," William sighed. "No, damn it, no," Penny screamed. "Penny, move over," William said, his voice firm. "No," Penny sobbed. William set the box on the kitchen floor and shook Penny as he picked it up and slung it over his shoulder. He went to the sliding glass door and opened it. "William, put me down!" Penny screamed as he stepped out into the backyard. Penny screamed in horror when her husband threw her into the pool. The thin nightgown showed through as she floated to the stairs and climbed out. One of the slippers had fallen off his foot and was swaying in the water. She tossed the other one away and walked over to the sliding glass door. "You damn son of a bitch!" Penny screamed when she realized he had locked the door. "William, open the door!" she screamed, pounding on the door. After a few minutes, Jenica finally opened the door for her mother. "Where is your father?" Penny growled. But William, his clothes, books, and office equipment were gone. The call to his cell phone went to a cheerful voicemail. Penny screamed indignantly and hung up. It was Tuesday morning, after a quiet, bitter weekend, after a lonely Monday, when Richard cheerfully knocked on the door of the Richards house. "Hello, I'm Richard Boudreau," the smiling man said. "Ma'am, what are these flowers? I really like that they are so striped." "Mint camellias," Penny said, looking at the flowers next to the front door. "Ma'am, you're Penny Richards, aren't you?" Richard asked. Yes, Penny agreed, still looking at the flowers. "And you've already been served," Richard said, handing her a large manila envelope. "Have a nice day." He took a picture of her with a digital camera. "I sent my Bernie a photo of these flowers. I bet it won't be 10 minutes before she tells me we need to have some." The man smiled as he opened the door of the Ford sedan. He laughed a happy laugh. "That's a woman, I'll tell you," he said. "She knows that all she has to do is ask, and everything will be hers." During lunch, William finally took out his mobile phone. Penny's tearful message broke his heart and he almost deleted it. But in the message, she confessed to her affair with Harris Phillips, and William saved her message for his lawyer. Trevor Williams, his divorce lawyer, noted that if Penny or Harris do not admit to their affair, then Penny can deny that it took place. "This is a no-fault state, Mr. Williams," Williams said. That's right, Trevor agreed. "But adultery gives us more leverage over alimony." "God, give her the damn house," Williams snapped. "At least until Jenica decides to go to college." "Sir, according to you, Mrs. Richards hasn't worked since Rachel was born. 2 years ago, right?" Trevor said. "It's high time she got back to work, don't you think?" William snapped. But now, listening to her whiny voice, hearing the suffering and fear in her voice, William felt neither a sense of victory nor a sense of moral justification. On Wednesday morning, Jenica quietly suggested to her mother that she go to a lawyer, review the divorce application, and make sure everything was fair. "There's nothing fair about a divorce, Jenica," Penny snapped. "Maybe not, but maybe you should go to a lawyer anyway," Jenica said quietly. "You're right, honey," Penny said heavily. Nicole Banks, a lawyer from the firm of Cooter and Partners, came to work at 11 o'clock that morning, and as she was brushing her long brown hair, Penny saw another offensive gray-streaked hair. She pulled it out forcefully. Then she pulled out 2 more gray hairs that she noticed on the left side of her head. Nicole Banks was an attractive young woman. The lawyer didn't look much older than Rachel, and Penny felt offended when she spoke to the young lawyer. "Your husband didn't freeze the accounts, did he?" Nicole asked. "God, you're not thinking—" "William wouldn't do that. He knows I need that money," Penny stammered. With Penny's permission, Nicole checked the family account and 2 credit cards. No one touched them. Nicole quickly filed a motion to suspend payments to protect Penny from any attempts to freeze the accounts. She also applied for spousal counseling. Although Nicole's youth still annoyed Penny, she thanked the young lawyer. "Mrs. Richards, I sincerely hope that this consultation will be beneficial," Nicole said, "but I want you to prepare for the fact that it might not work, okay?" Despite the objections of Trevor Williams, Judge Marie Robichaud still ordered a consultation, stating that both parties must attend at least 8 sessions. Dr. Sylvia Hooperstein was notorious for siding with women in her consultations and determining that more sessions might be needed, often recommending up to 20. 1 session's the maximum most judges agreed to. Penny sat and cried, sobbed, and apologized to William for the first 40 minutes of their first session. "Will, can I call you Will?" Sylvia asked. "Mr. Richards will be fine, thank you," William grumbled. Well, I don't see the need for such a formality," Sylvia grumbled. "Well, Dr. Hooperstein, when will you pay me?" "Then you can make that decision," William said. "Since I'm the one who pays you, since it's my salary that pays the bills, I am the one making this decision." "Great," Sylvia growled. "Do you have anything to add to what Penny just said?" "No, not really," William said. "She slept with a neighbor, an 18-year-old guy. No amount of sorry and it didn't mean anything can fix it. Can't undo it." The second session was almost a mirror image of the first. In the third session, Sylvia decided to let William go first instead of letting Penny be the first. She was giving a blowjob to this 18-year-old guy, William said wearily. She was making love to a neighbor. No amount of sorry and it didn't mean anything will fix anything. He turned and looked into Penny's angry face. "But damn it, just for the fun of it, let me ask you something, huh?" said William. "Let's say you left the house, went to the grocery store, then saw that you forgot your purse, returned home, and let's say caught me in bed with this little Teresa Prejean, right?" Penny visibly flinched, her face tensed. "Yeah," William said. "It's not that easy, is it?" "But she's just a kid," Penny snapped. "She's 18, the same age as Harris, quite legally," William replied. He grinned at me. "And he's always beating around the bush, poking his big chest in my face every chance he gets," William continued. So the next 43 minutes were occupied by Penny complaining about the neighbor Lolita, who was clearly not indifferent to her husband. At the beginning of the 8th session, Sylvia mentioned the possibility of asking for additional sessions. "If you do, I'll subpoena your records," William threatened. He got to his feet. "I'm sure the court would like to see how many extensions you requested that ended in divorce anyway," he said. "Where are you going? We still have 48 minutes, Sylvia snapped. "Is 48 more minutes of listening to her or you talking nonsense going to get Harris Phillips out of the way? Is it really because of this that my wife's infidelity will never happen? Would another 48 minutes of this tedious chatter lead to her cheating disappearing? No? Then I'm done," William said and left the office. Since he did not complete all 8 court-appointed sessions, Sylvia maliciously informed Judge Robichaud of William's failure to perform his duties. Because William was a teacher, Judge Robichaud refused to issue a warrant for his arrest, but ordered him to conduct the last class. William turned out to be true to his word. There was a summons from Trevor Williams demanding to provide all records of court-ordered marital counseling for the previous 5 years. "I told you not to do this," Penny said to Sylvia as William sat in the doctor's office, as well as the fact that he refuses to be called anything other than William, and the fact that he is absolutely stubborn. Penny got to her feet. "Where are you going?" Sylvia asked. "I'm sorry, William," Penny said, fresh tears welling up in her eyes. "I really hoped that you would see that I am ready to fight for our marriage, but apparently not." "But I'm not ready to keep my legs closed," William snapped. Penny left the office. "Well, that's probably it then," Sylvia sighed. "You can go now, William." "Oh no, ma'am," William chuckled. "You ordered me to return for the last session. Well, I'm here and we still have 37 minutes. So for 37 minutes, William sat and looked at the doctor. At first, she tried to maintain eye contact. 3 minutes later, she was busy with other things. Finally, she growled, "Go ahead, okay? Just go away. You won, okay?" "Have a nice day, Dr. Hooperstein," William said and left the office. Super One Foods has hired Penny Richards to work in the evenings. William quickly realized that being a housemate wasn't just about sitting and cleaning the house. Despite the fact that Clay drove a car, he often depended on other people who fed him, cleaned his clothes, and financed his social life. Jenica did not know how to drive a car, but she participated in several events and constantly needed a chauffeur. So if there is any positive side to this divorce, it is that William has become more actively involved in the lives of his two youngest children. And finally, the marriage ended with a few scribbles on legal papers. Penny kept the house until Jenica turned 21. Then the house will be sold, and the proceeds will be divided 50-50. William's retirement accounts will also be split 50-50 upon his retirement. No one has won any victory. No one felt a sense of satisfaction, of moral superiority. One evening, while browsing through the products of a middle-aged woman, Penny noticed a box of hair dye among the products. Chestnut brown. "I wish I'd thought of that," Penny said aloud.